So far, I count 45 people.
Great. Well, let's get going. I think we should get going. Rector's Warden?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Barbara.
I have a prayer I'd like to start off with. Dear Lord and Father, we're very grateful you are in our midst. We welcome you amongst us today and celebrate the gift of life that you have lavished upon each of us. We ask that you would open our ears so that we may hear your voice. Open our minds so that we may receive your eternal wisdom. Open our spirits so that we may know your leading and guidance. And open our hearts so that we may receive your wonderful love. We ask all this in this glorious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Alan Windle will declare a quorum.
As clerk of the vestry, I declare a quorum present.
You, Alan. I'm still letting people in, so Paul, if I'm distracted, that's why. Back to Barbara Thomson for our elections.
I thank you for everybody who has put their name forward. We'd like to welcome our new Vestry candidates, David Deek, Elizabeth Eagles, Rob Jennings, Paula Wineland, and our youth delegate, Sophie Robinson.
The election was held online and there was 75 votes in favor of these candidates and none against. So these people stand elected. So let's welcome them to the vestry. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We're looking forward to working with you. And I'd also like to say thank you to our outgoing vestry members. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Should I do the outgoing now?
What project are you working on?
Okay.
Okay, let's get on mute, please.
Just finished for months.
Well, are you working on any work now?
Nope, I don't have any.
Somebody's not on mute. Please mute yourselves. Thank you. So I'd also like to present our convention candidates, Carolyn Green, Lorraine Webb, and Melissa Buckingham.
And 75 people vote online for this slate as well, and they are elected.
Welcome, and thank you for all the work you do. And now I'd like to say thank you to our outgoing vestry members who may be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief right now, which we loved having all of you and we will miss you dearly. Those who are leaving because their time has elapsed of the 4 years is Skip Lynch, Kate Moss, Alan Good, and Dick Dupuis. Thank you. And Paula Siri is going to be leaving the vestry because she's taking up a new residence, which is far away in Spain. And we wish you all well and know that you always have a home here at St. Martin's.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. And thank you. I want to add my thanks to this wonderful class of vestry members who just did so much good for our parish and were such great leaders. You served well. Have a good rest, although some of you are staying in leadership in a variety of ways, and I'm grateful for that as well.
And don't worry, we will continue to take advantage of your abilities.
Okay, Tom Sibson is up for the finance report. Let me find Tom so I can
Yep, I'm here. Great, thanks, Jarrett.
Spotlight him for everybody. One second, I'm going to spotlight you here, Tom, once I find you. There, I found you. Good, there you are. Thanks for that. I'm going to add you to the spotlight, and you're off.
All right, here we go. The endless challenge of balancing revenues and expenses. So let's just dive in. I'll keep it brief. I know we have a lot of ground to cover tonight, or today, excuse me. So I just have a few slides to share. Jarrett, if you could advance for me. Great. So just real quick headline news with regard to St. Martin's and how we ended up in 2020 and how things are going so far in 2021. Last year was another year of really solid financial performance. Even in light of COVID, we were able to not only cover all of our expenses with the income, but we were also in December able to set aside some funds for our 2021 capital projects, which you'll be hearing a little bit more about later on. Our endowment balance remains healthy. We were the beneficiary of very positive markets over the last course of 2020 and into 2021. Last May, the last time I reported to the congregation, our endowment balance was about 3.8 million. Today it stands at nearly 4.4 million. So we've had a really nice advance. I think as I sit here today and think about where we are in 2021, my only concern is that we have a very recent trend of a reduction in pledge giving against our plan. We had an incredibly strong start to the year, January through March, but things have slowed down in April and May. So I think this is just my maybe reminder that if you've gotten a little bit behind in your pledges, it would be wonderful if you could put them forward whenever it's convenient. But all in all, we're in a good position at St. Martin's. So just to get into a little bit more detail, I have a couple more slides.
Sorry.
If you could advance, Jarrett.
Okay.
This is our annual revenue trend, and this is really just highlighting over the past 7 years the sources of revenue. Blue being our giving, which comes from the congregation each year through pledges, plate, and general giving. The orange is the draw that we take from our endowment, and the very small sliver at the top in gray is our miscellaneous income for things like rentals and events. As you can see, looking at the numbers at the top of each bar, that's our total revenue. We've been extremely consistent over the last 7 years, sort of ranging right around $1 million a year each year. Some years close to 1.1 million. On the far right, that's a demonstration of the 2021 annual revenue that was approved with our budget, and that's what we're tracking against in this current year. And so, and the breakout of our revenue has also been very consistent, as you can see by the height of the bars in the blue and the orange. So the sources of our revenue have continued to be very consistent. On the next slide, I'll get into a little bit more detail with regard to where we stand. Really, this is up to the minute financial report. So I'm reporting up through May. And this is just a high level so everyone can see how we are tracking against our budget in 2021. As I just mentioned, we are slightly behind in our pledge giving by $7,000. So by this time, we were hoping to have received $329,000 in pledges. We've received $322,000. The good news is some of our expenses are lower than planned, but some of these other expenses are only lower than planned because of timing issues. So for example, in footnote B, you can see that it looks as though we're spending less in areas like community engagement and pastoral care. That's really a function of when we thought we were going to spend the money versus when we will spend the money. And so we will have these expenses over the course of the year. So what looks like a current favorable variance is really subject only for timing. The one area where we are definitely spending less, at least for now, knock on wood, is in our maintenance expenses, which is showing an $8,500 variance through May. All this to say that we're still running a slight surplus against budget through May, even with the timing adjustments of about $10,000. So in terms of revenue expenses, reports still very, very sound and favorable. Jarrett, can you go back one slide, please?
Sorry, I'm having some operator error here.
There we go. One more forward.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so the last slide that I wanted to share is just about a summary of our major balances. As I shared before, starting with the third bullet point, our total endowment stands at about 4.4 million. For those of you who are interested in the allocation of our investment, Nearly 28% is in fixed income. So these are things like bonds and very stable securities. And about 72% is in equity, both domestic and international markets. This allocation strategy is monitored by our investment committee and our third-party partner of PNC. In terms of our other balances that are of relevance, our operating cash balance is $70,000, which for us is about 6 weeks of operating expenses. So that's still pretty good. And we've got a capital projects fund that's at about $85,000. So I took a quick look at our history yesterday, and both of these balances are in very favorable shape as compared to where we typically stand over the last 6 or 7 years. So that is my report for today.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. We're going to now move on to Carol Horne Penn, who will give the properties report. Carol? We'll have questions at the end of the meeting. You can write them in the chat if you'd like, and we'll cover them that way.
Good afternoon or good morning to all of you. It's nice to have this annual meeting, and hopefully next year we'll be in person. Why don't we go to the next slide, please?
Sorry.
It's okay. So I thought I'd give you a summary of sort of what we did this year. Despite COVID, we were still quite busy focusing on our properties and prioritizing things that needed to be done throughout the year. So let me just walk you through these 8 items, and we can just, and then if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Please go back.
Sorry. Oh,
Thank you.
I'm not very good at this, clearly.
It's
Wow.
okay.
I'm having a hard
It's all
time
good. It's all good.
doing here. There we go.
I wouldn't be able to talk about those things though. So in the Hillary House, most of you know, last year we worked very hard, well, actually, and got Hillary House to a point where we were able to use Hillary House for the hosting of a family throughout this year. And then also just in terms of a capital improvement in Hillary House, we added a new washer and dryer. In order to accommodate our virtual services, we had already upgraded our internet services in the church. And then when COVID was very clearly going to be upon us, we focused on the increase, the change of our audiovisual capabilities in the church, which I think have made a huge difference in the live streaming of our worship services. I've talked to you before about water. And so in the case of water, it's either coming from the roof leaking in, or it's coming from the ground up. And in both cases, I think we've done a fairly good job of managing that. We have had all the roofs on all 3 of our buildings repaired, and we are in constant relationship with Halstead Roofing for anything that we notice that pops up for a leak. So we've developed a very nice relationship with them over the year, or last couple of years. And then with landscaping, we did a grading project, which really made the difference for water coming into the parish hall and into our church. So we haven't experienced the same water issues we experienced in the past. We have one lingering issue in the undercroft that we are working on. We had the yellow wood tree removed, and then our gardening committee, which I shared with you last year, continues to be very, very active. And one of those members, Judy Haleski, is on her way to Oregon, so we will miss her greatly. But please know that the work that Judy, Kathy, and others put in motion really has made a difference. And Judy, we will miss you on that. The organ, when Tyrone arrived, he quickly noticed that the organ needed a little attention. We had organ repairs made this year. So when you were in church, you were experiencing an enhanced organ. And over the last year, we finished up our repairs in the Mary Chapel. So if you go into the chapel now, you see a beautiful wood floor, nicely painted walls, and a much more refreshing space. The bat screens and for the clerestory windows, we install bat screens and we have chains, so making it easier to open those windows while we're in service. And lastly, we have really drilled down on the capital project that we've talked to you about over the last several years. And, you know, I'm sure you can imagine with the heat and humidity, how some of the things we've talked about in weddings and funerals, we've all still had those, how having bathrooms and air conditioning and an elevator would make a difference. But we're also listening to you to find out what else is important to you as we move through this project. So right now, the vestry approved that we could hire a project manager. Please go back. And we hired North Star Advisors and Pat Patrick to work with us. And we are moving through to this next phase with her with architecture selection. We actually have interviewed a few architects and we'll be taking a firm to Vestry at the end of June for their approval. We're in the process of checking their references. And to make sure that we are prepared financially for the work that we'll be doing with both the architect and our owner's rep. Deborah Roberts is heading a capital campaign funding committee. I'm not sure I'm naming that correctly, which really will be the really critical element by engaging a feasibility consultant, which they are checking references on now to determine, to work with us as a parish to find out what our capabilities are in terms of raising money, what our needs are, what's important to us. So as we launch this project, we can assure our success both in terms of scope and what we want to do, but also more importantly, our ability to fund the work that we want, that you actually would like us to do. So I know there was a parish survey out that I hope most of you have received. Please fill it out. It will give us some insights into to what's important to you going on now, and we will do some additional surveying with our consultant once they are engaged. And that's really it for us right now. We're going to be very busy this year planning and getting your feedback, but we're excited about this next stage to assure that our buildings and grounds support the very extensive mission work of our parish.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for all your leadership and hard work. I'm very, very grateful. If you have questions, if you have questions about the properties report, please put them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the meeting. We're going to keep trucking here. In the spirit of time, we have a lot of information to share with you today. We have remained a church during COVID. No pause for St. Martin's. Some to celebrate there, actually. Here we go. I'm going to try to advance a slide, something I've not been very successful at. There we go. Diane Pierce is now going to report for the local organizing committee. So Diane, you're up.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. The local organizing committee is, or LOC, is St. Martin's closest link with Power. Power Interfaith represents over 50 multi-faith, multiracial congregations in southeastern and central Pennsylvania, committed to racial injustice, racial and economic justice on a livable planet. St. Martin's has supported Power since its founding in 2011. The LOC joins us, St. Martin's, with Power to address the root causes that our Philadelphian brothers and sisters face daily in the areas of public education, economic dignity, Vestry for criminal justice reform, climate justice, and civic engagement to get out the vote. The members of our committee would like to meet and talk with you, any of you, who would like to learn more about these campaigns and how you might become more involved. Our members are Deacon Carol Duncan, Jim Fairborn, Stephanie Hagan, Susan McBride, Joe Menicall, Elizabeth Eagles, and myself. We invite you to participate with us in Power's big action for fair and equal education. And I think the next slide that Jarrett has gives you a great picture of the disparity. This is on June 21st, we will join other Philadelphia congregations to demand that Harrisburg dedicate fair and adequate funding for our public schools. PA's public school system offers separate and terribly unequal education based on where a family lives. In most Philadelphia schools, the state contributes $2,000 less than just across the border, perhaps in our suburban schools. To demonstrate this, you can see it on this graph so clearly. The brown dots are the schools that receive less, and they are where our children of color usually attend. And that's why we are really getting fired up about this march. To demonstrate our outrage and our resolve, we will pilgrimage from low-funded Samuel Gompers School to Marion Elementary School, a high-funded school. We will carpool leaving St. Martin's at 11 a.m. Monday, June 21st. And I hope that many of you may be able to join our Power LOC. Please contact Deacon Carol about carpooling or any of us to learn more. We want to talk with you about Power Interfaith and living our faith in community. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you very much. What a good report you gave. I really appreciate that. Let me go back to the screen share so we can track our progress here. This is a really powerful slide.
It is.
Yeah, and oh, here we go. Strategic planning. This brings me up, right? Boy, I'm having control issues. Story of my life. Okay, so while we've been in COVID, the vestry has been doing strategic planning, starting with a retreat we had last September under the tent. We met in the tent in the parking lot to do a vestry retreat that focused in on strategic planning. That work has continued under the leadership of Barbara Thomson and a smaller committee, the vestry, that has taken the retreat work and narrowed it down into focus opportunities for the parish. I'm going to walk you through some of this work, and it's going to start off with a new vision statement that the vestry adopted. Special thanks to Harry Gould for excellent work on that. And then I'll walk you through our mission and values, just because that's always a good reminder of our rootedness. So, our vision. Here's our new vision statement. The Church of St. Martin in the Fields, where all souls are nourished with spiritual food, enfolded into community, and inspired to act with courage and compassion and faithful witness to Jesus Christ. I love it. I think it says a lot in very few words, and definitely gives us a vision to live into, that's for sure. Our mission is continuing. Welcome all seekers, worship God in liturgy, music, and prayer, equip all baptized persons for ministry, and engage as agents of Christ's love in the world. Our core values remain: learning leads to God. In giving and receiving care, we encounter Christ. And this last one's been slightly modified. Life in the Holy Spirit is beautiful, which was the original, and we've added and challenging, because St. Martin's is this rare parish that's up for a challenge, which I really appreciate about St. Martin's. We get that God is going to stretch us some places. Here's our aspirational values. This is stuff we're still trying to live into. We've identified them about 6-7 years ago, and we're still working on them until they become core values someday, perhaps. Community engagement and social justice, We just heard about that from Diane. Unconditional welcome and inclusion, a community that calls forth the gifts of its entire people, and becoming a racism-free and diverse community that reflects the city where we worship. So here's our areas of strategic focus, and you're going to hear reports after my report that go into detail on a few of these. We're not working on them all at the same time. Some have already gone into progress, some are on hold, some we're doing some discerning and planning around. So I'll try to keep you up to date on that. Hospitality and community engagement. This is a big umbrella one that basically asks the question, are we ready to welcome and are we ready to serve here on our campus at St. Martin's? Are we ready to welcome and are we ready to serve here right at St. Martin's? How are we interfacing with our neighborhood and how are we welcoming people into our ministries? And this has a lot to say about our capital project exploration, which is about, as I see it, readiness to welcome and readiness to serve. So we're definitely plunging into that world. Are our buildings helping us? Are our ways we're organized helping us? This is a major concern as we try to be a parish that serves our neighborhood and our city. You'll hear about rebuilding the Chorister program from Tyrone in just a minute. Tyrone Whiting is on the call and he'll report on that. And that's underway. We have number 3, reimagine and rebuild children and youth formation. COVID really put an end to that in a lot of ways, although we made lots of efforts to be creative. So we have this really neat opportunity to begin again in the fall. You'll be hearing from Barb Ballenger and Ann Alexis Harra on that in just a minute. You'll be hearing from me on plan and implement a coming to faith evangelism program. That's a major interest of mine that will, I hope, lead to a sustainable church focused on our core work, which is sharing the faith. You've already heard from Carol Horne Penn on addressing deferred capital needs in the parish house. That is ongoing. Programming for low commitment members and neighbors. We're really good at St. Martin's at high commitment programming. Where's our low commitment programming? We know people have busy lives. So what are we doing for them? Not a lot of work done on that yet, but that will happen. And finally, continue to develop our BBC framework. That's an ongoing strategic plan that we are going to continue to work on as we go forward. It's been a real game changer for St. Martin's, I'll tell you that. I will keep going here to Choristers and Choir, and I will give the floor to Tyrone Whiting. Once I find him on this view here.
I'm over here, I think.
I'll find you. Start speaking and I'll find you.
Yeah, hello, hello, hello.
Oh my God. Really do not like Zoom. You
No
think
one likes Zoom after 14 months.
I'd be better at it by now, right? Gallery view. Okay, talk again, Tyrone. Where are you?
I'm over here.
I'm over. Ah, found him. Yes.
Hey.
Goodness, I'm not good at this. All right, Tyrone, you're the man.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's really good to see you. I had this sort of slight realization just sitting here just now that next week I will have been here 5 months, which seems impossible for 2 reasons. It seems too short a time and too long a time at the same time. I'm getting to see your faces now, which was wonderful this morning. I shared hugs at the peace this morning, which just blew my mind. It was really lovely to sort of lean over the pews to the choir. I want to talk very briefly about 4 areas of music program, and the chorister part is in much more detail. I want to talk about the progress made in the choir and the future of that, our liturgical music making, music in general, and then the chorister program. And they're all interlinked. I took this job having never heard the choir. That's a challenge. But the benefit is that you have an outstanding choir. You have a really, really capable bunch of volunteers supported by our section leaders. But the volunteers who have come back with such energy and thirst for music is really refreshing. Everything they do is to the highest ability. And I'm going to push that bar even higher. Even if we fall short of it occasionally, at least it's there. Because we are, without question, one of the best choirs in Philadelphia. And people laugh at me when I say that, but we are. Because our choir has a deep belief in its music making as ministry. And so do I, because it is. One of the things you'll see with the choir is that, as Diane presented on with LOC, education and outreach is so important in this city, especially to the underserved and underrepresented. With our ministries being so at the forefront of social justice and racial justice, our choir needs to catch up. That is one big weakness of our choir. It needs to catch up. In the coming year, we will have a Black History Month concert. We will have educational projects where we welcome new people, younger people to the choir. I want to see the average age of the choir go down by about 10 years in the next 12 months, and it will happen. And that feeds into our general music making. I want the choir to be performing inside St. Martin's and within our community and beyond. We really, really can stretch our music program beyond 19, 118, as I keep saying. This leads into our liturgical music. It's so great to be able to hear you sing as a congregation. I can't tell you, it's wonderful. To not only have clergy who can sing and a choir that can sing, but to have a congregation that can sing. I think I made the right choice in coming here. It's a real pleasure to hear your thoughts on the music. And I do mean it when I say that I'm your director of music. I want to hear what you have to say about the music, good and bad. Some people loved the rudder this morning, other people wanted it to burn. So I want to hear back about that. The wonderful thing about liturgical music is that now going forward, we can sing, and there will be much more congregational singing, to be much more diverse congregational singing, use of the piano, use of other instruments, not just the sort of organ choral standard Anglican music, but we're not turning our back on it completely either. In terms of music in general, as I say, more concerts. We've got this June series running at the moment, which has been a great success so far. Thank you to those of you that have supported it. We had 150 people the first week, 120 last week. It's been a real great boon to our presence in the community, which stretches into our outreach of educating children. I saw so many families over the last 2 Wednesdays who have brought their children to hear music, classical music in Philadelphia on a Wednesday, and they're not even forced to do it. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And that's why I'm really pleased to talk about our Chorister to College program. This is Jarrett's brainchild, which we're sort of taking and running, and I think is an extremely exciting idea. We are doing a really great job of supporting adult music education, adult liturgical music, excuse me, and we're soon going to be reaching into campus ministry with that. I'm working closely with Alexis Harra, who you'll hear from later, about really getting into universities and attracting new, younger undergraduate and graduate singers to our choir. But we need to start towards the other end. We really need to be supporting children from their very first musical experiences. And so with the support of the Community Engagement Committee and the Vestry, we are going to be offering 16 children $1,000 a year to be paid into a 529 college fund program each year that they sing with us. And this is going to be a sort of merit-based as well as need-based consideration for the children that we have, with a focus on reaching children in underrepresented and underserved areas. And that's really exciting. There are not any churches doing that. There are not any churches really supporting their children in that way. If we can have 16 scholared children by this time next year, I will see that as a success. If we have 8 who are fully committed, I will see that as a success. If we can reach 5 children who get access to a music education that they haven't had before, that's great. One thing you may not know about me is that I was head of music at a boys' school, a significant private school in London, for nearly 5 years. Teaching is a huge passion of mine. Imparting my knowledge is a huge passion of mine. So much so, actually, the mug I have by chance is the mug of the school I'm talking about. So it's a real big passion of mine that we are at the forefront of musical education, become a center of musical excellence. There's no excuse not to. There's no excuse not to. We're so well placed to be able to serve our current community, our local community, and much further afield. So I really hope you're as excited by all of our programs as I am. I think the Chorister to College program is excellent. I'm really grateful for the committee's support on doing this and the executive committee's support on doing this. It's going to be really exciting. I want to hear from you. I really do. If you want to come for a coffee, you want to come to our garden for a glass of wine, or just want to grab me after church, let me know, or drop me an email. Because it's really important that our program serves the people it's serving. And if it stops serving the people it's serving, that's an issue. And that issue stops with me. So I want to hear your thoughts on music here, and I'm going to stop talking because I've been going on for too long. Thank you, and thank you for welcoming both me and my husband Sean so well to St. Martin's.
Thank you, Tyrone. Thank you for that fabulous report. If you folks have questions for Tyrone or comments, they can go in the chat. I'm going to now bring forward two staff members. I'm going to bring Ann Alexis forward here, and I'm going to bring Barbara Ballenger forward. I'm just very slow at this. I apologize. There's Barb, founder. They're going to talk about what's going on with children and youth formation.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to get us started, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ann Alexis. We have some really interesting things in mind for the fall, and I wanted to tell you about the piece of this that affects liturgy and faith formation for families with children from preschool through mid-elementary. So we're calling this Worship Together Plus. So in the past, you'll probably remember before COVID, we had a program that included, as far as liturgy goes, we had Worship Together liturgy for preschoolers and their families, which was an intimate little liturgy in the soft space in the church. We had children's chapel during our choral Eucharist for kids during liturgy. And in our formation time, we offered classroom-based religious education for children in elementary through junior high. That was before COVID. And even at that time, before COVID, families were telling us that a classroom-based program wasn't really meeting their kids' needs as well as maybe that program used to a while back. And our numbers were reflecting that. Then COVID hit, everything changed, and it allowed us to take kind of a reflective hiatus, a chance to really think about what sort of liturgy and faith formation would serve families best. Ann Alexis joined our staff in that time, and so as our minister of children and youth, and so we've had this time to really think about how we could hit the ground running in the fall. And this is what we have in mind. So Worship Together Plus is a family liturgy that we're imagining from 9 a.m. to 9:40, so pretty brief, about 40 minutes, family-focused liturgy in the church that features engaging singable songs, movement and rhythm, which we introduced in our family worships sort of during COVID. When we couldn't sing, we found that if we gave children streamers and shaker eggs, they would have some ways to participate in the music, and we'll be able to sing in the fall and have music and have rhythm and movement. This service would feature kid-friendly translations of the Sunday scriptures read by our older youths, engaging preaching, faith components like thanking and asking prayers, and of course, Eucharist. It's about 40 minutes of family fun and liturgy, and then followed immediately by faith formation, where adults and kids in that service together go down to the Undercroft for 45 minutes of learning together. So rather than dropping off children, this is an idea of imagining us learning together across multi-generations. So this would alternate between whole group activities where everyone shares an activity together and reflection on Sunday themes, and on alternate weeks, age differentiated groups, including one for parents and other adults, so that we might all be working on a theme, but we'll have some weeks we do it together, and some weeks we might break into groups by age level and then return. So this is a really different model of catechesis that sometimes it's called whole community catechesis, but it's an idea of learning together. So this approach is inspired by the warmth and connection that families have found at Worship Together, but also informed by the request that liturgy for kids, that they request for liturgy that kids don't grow out of. So often we would have liturgy for preschoolers that was really engaging, but then sort of where do kids and families find a liturgy that keeps growing with them? So this is a liturgy that grows and welcomes beyond preschool, and while continuing to have that welcome of preschool aged kids. This liturgy is also inspired by the fun and multi-generational groups have had learning together, like when we make Advent reads together, or edible crushes, or do service projects together, and the powerful multi-generational experiences like supper. We found that kids and adults like to learn together, and so we're going to make space for that. So the idea is to create an experience that everyone can enjoy, where parents and kids are supported, where faith is shared across generations, and where we can grow together. So that first 40 minutes is liturgy, and then I failed to mention that the learning time is another 45 minutes that goes till about 10:30. That way, if some people decide they'd like to start with faith formation and learning, they could go to the 10:30 liturgy, or they could begin with a family-friendly liturgy at 9 and go into catechesis. So we've got a very flexible program in between. Will happen at about the same time as the parish forum, so adults can make some choices on what they want to do. But the whole idea is to try to find ways that engage the whole family, the whole person, and the whole parish as we learn together and engage and take responsibility for our younger people. So that's that. I'm going to turn it over to Ann Alexis now to talk more about our children, youth, and family ministry, about junior high, senior high. She's got a lot more to share, but this is what we're thinking about for liturgy and catechesis for preschool through about mid-elementary.
Thanks, Barb. Yeah, you described that pretty nicely. I'm glad that you did
Thanks,
that.
Ann Alexis.
So as Tyrone said, he's been here for 5 months, and coming up, I'll be here for 4 months. And I just want to very briefly thank all of you for welcoming me so graciously. I'm going to very briefly talk about Vacation Bible School, youth group, anti-racism work, and confirmation in the fall. Start with confirmation. Just keep an eye out on that. We are looking to confirm youth. The bishop is coming December 5th. So if you know anybody who is looking to be confirmed, please send them my way. I will be leading a confirmation class, and I'm very excited to do that. Youth group. So we're starting up 6th through 8th grade youth group again, which I'm very, very excited to do. That's my favorite age group to work with. The high school youth group will still be immediately Jarrett's group, but I'm there to offer support. Jarrett does wonderful, wonderful ministry with the high school youth group. So we're looking to do 6th through 8th grade on the 1st and 3rd Sundays of the month after 10:30. And high school will continue to be the 2nd and 4th Sundays of the month after 10:30. And by our, I mean my big goal is to go to Guatemala again next summer, with hopefully a lot more education around the needs of the region during the program year. Vacation Bible School is this August. So far, we have 15 participants registered, and we were hoping for about 25. So we're doing pretty well. Vacation Bible School is actually in combination with choir camp. It runs August 9th through 13th, plus a VBS Sunday on the 15th. We really do need volunteers. That's actually our biggest need right now. It's not a full week commitment. We need volunteers to be shepherds for registration, and honestly in the kitchen. Please consider donating just a couple hours for this really vital ministry. So you can reach out to me for that. And last but not least, I am taking a course beginning Wednesday called Tell Me the Truth About Racism. It's a godly play-based course. And what Barb and I are hoping to do is incorporate that curriculum into our faith formation so that we can begin to offer families anti-racism programming where they are more comfortable talking about anti-racism with their children and with then their extended families in continuing St. Martin's commitment to becoming beloved community. So if you have questions about any kind of anti-racism and family catechesis, you can obviously let Barb know, but also let me know, because I'm very, very happy to talk to any of you. And this is a huge passion of mine. So.
Great.
I just want to give a quick shout out about Godly Play and to Jean McKenzie, who has offered a lot of Godly Play support that is kind of a Montessori-based learning by watching engaging storytelling. And during COVID, she recorded several lessons for us so that families could stay connected to learning online. So those things are available, and Alexis is going to do some more of that. Jean's going to continue to support our littlest ones with Godly Play offerings in this new model as well. So just if you're listening, Jean, thank you for all you bring to this program.
Great.
That's good. We're done.
Well done. Well done. Thank you very much. I'm going to get some spotlights off here, and I get to be spotlighted for a second. Well, thank you all again for joining us for our annual meeting on Zoom. My piece of the strategic plan to bring forward is the faith discovery part, also called evangelism. When we renew our baptismal vows, one of them is, will you proclaim by word and example the good news of God in Christ? And the Episcopal Church traditionally has not been strong at this. And I think it's really crucial that we learn this skill. It's core to who we are, sharing the gospel, sharing the good news, inviting people into a relationship with God. It's one of the commands Jesus gave us to do. So slowly, we're going to be working out some programming in some specific areas. One, we're going to be working on what's called faith sharing. So with the existing congregation, how do we learn how to share the faith that is in us? Also a biblical concept. How do we just gently know how to offer this wonderful, life-giving relationship we have with God to others? Well, you can expect some programming on that in the fall, especially at Parish Forum, which will be coming back in the fall. The next piece is faith discovery. How do we become a place where people who are seeking a relationship with God find that relationship? So in 2022, during Lent and Easter season, I'm planning to offer a 10-week class that's facing towards the neighborhood. It'll be a meal and then a class. And in that class, people will be brought into the basics of the faith. And they can ask any question and all questions they want. They can take it or leave it. They can reject it or come to it with great joy. But we will make the attempt to create an open space for faith discovery here at St. Martin's. And as always, we need to keep our eye on the going deeper opportunities. How are we inviting newcomers to go deeper at St. Martin's? What kind of group experiences will they have? What kind of formation experiences are available? Especially for very busy people, what short-term opportunities are there for people to kind of grow in community, grow in strength in their faith? We have lots of ways to do that through Wellspring and other programming through biblical studies. So I'm really excited to keep developing this as a holistic approach to faith discovery, faith sharing, and going deeper. We definitely have a focus in the fall on, as you saw in the strategic plan, on hospitality. How do we welcome people at St. Martin's, and how as a whole community are we ready to give a warm welcome in the times and spaces we share on Sunday mornings to anyone who's new or visiting. So expect to hear more about that. We're especially looking for leadership in that area, someone who has a passion for making sure people are fed and welcomed and nurtured. So keep your eyes out if that's you. That is my report. I want to thank everybody. Carol Horne Penn has a quick announcement to make. I'm going to hand it off to Carol here once I find her. There she is. Carol, you want to make that announcement?
Hi, I'm sorry. I should have shared with you one thing that we, in our effort to start to think about building community and also raising money, we have put together St. Martin's first annual golf classic, which will be held on Tuesday, October 12th, starting at 11:30. You can find information about it on our website. And I encourage you all to come, whether you're a golfer, whether you just want to come have dinner, or if you want to come to our clinic. It's a really nice way, we hope, to build some community in a way, other than all of our mission work, but in a way just to get to know each other. So we pulled this together. It'll support some of the work that we do in the parish, like our Choristers to College and other things that we're doing. So please come support us.
Thanks, Carol. Come play golf with your rector. That's another way to look at it.
Very true.
If you want a good laugh. So we're going to now segue into our questions and answers. I will roam through the chat and find the questions you put there. You can add questions now as well. Tom Sibson, I believe you've got a question in the chat from Carolyn Green. What accounted for the strong pledge results for the first quarter? Was it that people were diligent in paying their pledge, or were they prepaying? I'll let you take that, sir.
Sure. Yeah, it's the first, people were more diligent about paying their pledges. We have the prepayments sort of allocated in a separate group. So just to give everybody a sense, on January, February, and March, we received about $50,000 each month in pledge income. And then in April, it went from 50 to 36, and May was 39. So you can see sort of that drop off in the last 2 months that I was referring to. But I think it's a matter of just diligence and staying on top of our pledges.
Great, thank you, Tom. Okay, are there other questions? Now's the time to put them in the chat. While you're writing questions, I'll do some thanking. I want to lift up Daniel Cooper, who's on this call somewhere. Let's give some love to Daniel, wherever he may be. Actually, maybe I should spotlight him and embarrass the young man.
Woo!
He's probably got his video off. I can't find. Oh, there he is. There he is. I found him. There's Daniel Cooper. Let's give him some love. What a guy. This is the guy who's kept us live, kept us streaming, kept us in your computer at home. Wow. Every time he talks to me, I have no idea what he's telling me because it's so technical I can't understand it, but he makes it work, and that's all that counts. He's actually on staff at St. Martin's now, and he also does our funerals and weddings, which is fantastic. We actually just did a funeral this week that people came here because we had streaming service. We don't say no to sacraments at St. Martin's, but this family especially needed to stream so everybody could participate. And of course, Daniel was on the spot for that. He also managed a last minute crisis there very well. So Daniel, cheers to Daniel. Very, very good. More questions have appeared while I was talking. Here we go. Susan McBride has a question. Has there been any discussion about sharing our endowment with other less privileged parishes in the diocese? I think the answer to that is no. Our endowment was given to us for St. Martin's. We're not allowed to do that, but we do make a sizable pledge to the diocese, which is used for that purpose. Samuel Freeman says, thank you for help in managing endowment. I wondered why are returns on equity less than on fixed income holdings in the past year? Back to you, Tom.
I think that's just a function of how the markets are moving and where things were at that given point in time. Our fund mix is very sort of straightforward and very index based. So we're really following the markets.
Okay, thank you, Tom. We have lots of props for Daniel here in the box. Michael Martin Mills wants to know more about funding for the Choristers to College initiative. The pilot, $10,000 has been allocated from community engagement to fund the first year. That'll be a partial funding, and we have sources identified for the remainder. Tyrone, among many of his gifts, is a really good fundraiser.
Can I jump in there, Jarrett?
Yeah, please.
Just very quickly, that I had a great meeting with a music education supporter in the city recently, who, though they weren't willing to sponsor us in our initial year as a relaunch, if we are a success, will fund us for 2 years completely. So help us make it a success, please.
Community engagement is going to help you start a success, and then from there, I think this will run. Very good, and we can move that funding elsewhere. Other questions at this time? Some more thank yous. Thank you to everybody who funded the streaming system. It's made a huge difference in our life as a parish. Thank you to the Altar Guild, who've been pillars of patience with me during this time. We've probably changed our worship every way you possibly. I think we have done every way to worship there is. I don't know what we haven't done except like do worship in a bouncy house or with green eggs and ham. I mean, it's just insane what we've done to make worship go. Will the Chorister program reach out to local elementary and middle schools in the area? That's a question from Carolyn Green. Tyrone?
Yes, it has no choice but to. It's the idea is that we will reach out to beyond the connections we already have. It's really important that we do that. That doesn't say that the ones we do have are going to be ignored, that they will be made aware of it. The limitation on the number at the moment isn't even the funding. There is funding available for this program. It's a matter of space. If we're going to really have a program that goes from chorister through college and have our adult choir, it's just logistics. We can't fit that many singers in at the moment. There are ways of working that to have more places, but we are limited to 16 at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see who we end up with.
I want to just say how proud I am of St. Martin's for staying church during this past year. We remained a faithful parish through many challenges, and I am grateful to you all for your prayers and your participation in so many ways. We have a lot of thanks to give to some of our wonderful feeding program people. I think we have transported tons and tons of food to St. Luke's in Germantown and St. James the Less in North Philly. That never stopped. And thank you all for donating food. And thank you to our wonderful volunteers for transporting it. We send out special love and props to Jane Good for the Friday baking program, a wild success and a wonderful, faithful piece of work that also ended up supporting the welcome table at St. James School tremendously during hard times. Give thanks for all the volunteer trips to Share Food program and the volunteers who helped out with that. We took the youth group there at least 3 times, but adults did a lot of that work too. Dick Dupuy has a question. Will there be any continuation of outdoor tent worship this summer when the weather gets hot and humid and the church does too? That's a great question, Dick. We may move out to the backyard now and again. Probably no tent. The tent was expensive. That was like a $7,000, $10,000 tent for the summer. So we'll probably use the backyard of Hillary House if it gets beastly, which our church does. Or I can look at you all, and if anybody wants to give AC for the church, please do. We're getting a props for blessed Carolyn shaking her head at me. No, it's not part of the scope. Let's see, any other questions? Easter service in the stadium was amazing. Will there be more in the future, said Teresa. I don't know. That was a lot of work, guys. I think I'm going to guess Easter is going to go back to the church where we have an organ. And we loved doing that service out on the football field. It was a lot of fun. Your staff really worked hard on that, and so many volunteers. And it was a blast, but I don't know. We got to really calculate the work versus service potential there. It was intense. Oops, I missed a question from Samuel Freeman. I apologize. Where is it? 12:55. Okay. Oh, it's there. No, we asked that question. We asked that question about the endowment. Yep. Are there any other questions for this meeting of the Vestry? I want to thank my wonderful staff who have worked very hard and given their all during this time. They're a real pleasure to work with and just a great group. Very excited about the LOC forming and the work we're going to do to win this fair funding thing finally. One more reminder about the VBS. That's a great outreach. We're doing a lot of neighborhood facing work here at St. Martin's. You know, we don't just serve our members, we serve the community. And in the world we're living in, the time we have to form people in the faith is limited. Families are busy, college demands rule the day. High school is ridiculously over the top. So we have to get our work in any way we can. Thank you, Susan, for that. Thank you. And Tyrone, that feels good. And any last questions before we adjourn? We've done this in about an hour on Zoom, which is about all my brain can handle, frankly. I'm really glad to be done with Zoom. Welcome new Vestry members. I'm so thrilled you're joining us. And thank you all for the service you do. I'm going to hand it over to Alan Windle for our closing prayer. I'm going to spotlight him if I can. There he is. There's Alan Windle.
Almighty God, you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, to reconcile the world to yourself. We praise and bless you for those whom you have sent in the power of the Spirit to do the hard work required to lead our beloved church, St. Martin in the Fields. We are so blessed to have such excellent past and current leaders in this parish. We give you thanks that through their work and prayers and the work and prayers of all who in so many ways support this church, St. Martin's continues to be a vital part of the body of Christ in this world. In Christ's name, we ask your blessing on all the work, plans, and aspirations presented today. For the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours forever. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, Barb, do you want to adjourn this meeting? Barbara Thomson. Oops, where she is.
Yes, I'd love to adjourn the meeting so everybody can get out with their day and enjoy this beautiful weather.
Okay.
It was a blessing. It was wonderful to see you all.
Excellent. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you. Have a lovely day on this beautiful day of summer. Bye-bye.